Yo, what is going on, guys? Before I get into the slate breakdown, just want to say thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers. Huge goal of mine. We hit it today. I appreciate every single one of you for all the support you've shown me over the past 8-10 months. Can't thank you guys enough for 1,000 subscribers. So happy for that. So excited for the future and for you guys' continued support. So yeah, thank you guys once again. And now let's get into the slate breakdown. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Hartz. I do daily slate breakdowns for the NBA and NFL on DraftKings. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like button and subscribe. Turn that notification bell. I'll be going over my favorite spin-up plays, some mid-range options, and some value plays for this 10-game slates we have here on DraftKings for the NBA for Friday night. So if you're new to the channel, once again, hit that like button. Let's get into the slate breakdown. And before I get into the slate breakdown, guys, as always, make sure to follow me on Twitter at HeartDFS. I'll answer any questions you guys have. Talk DFS, put up my price pick plays when I play them. You can also find my free Patreon link down below in the YouTube description, as well as a Linktree here, or I just I pin it on my profile. And if you're wondering what it is, it's 100% free. It's just my write-up on the slates for that day. So for today's, we just did a recap of yesterday. I do the game totals, the spread, the injury news that you should monitor, diving into the framework to build around for that slate, top pay-up options, the slate thoughts, building blocks, value options, all that good stuff. It was a pretty solid night. I was able to 3x my money, so that's always good. Love doing that. And yeah, let's get into the slate breakdown. Make sure to hop on by for the free write-up for tomorrow. And we got a nice 10-gamer after tonight's 3-gamer. The first game we have here is going to be the New York Knicks and the Charlotte Hornets. So for the Knicks, Randall is coming off a monster game against Atlanta. 33 minutes, he got 69.25 fantasy points, 34, 17, and 5. Now, Randall's actually been pretty solid this season, especially recently. He started off the season kind of slow. Good first game, kind of slow throughout. Picked it up, a few weeks ago, a little low, and now he's, picking it up once again. So he's solid there at 7,900, especially against Charlotte. Don't have really too many big bodies to guard him, so he looks decent there at that price tag. I do like Brunson there at 6,800. Prices come down. A couple disappointing games in a row, about 5 disappointing games in a row after he had 3 straight games of almost 50 fantasy points. So 6,800, we know he has upside. If you want to buy low on him here against Charlotte, don't mind that. Same thing with RJ Barrett. Now he's, probably the most volatile of the 3, as you can see, and he's been having the worst season of the 3. But he does have huge upside, at least into the mid-40s, and that is priced now, 5,900. That's pretty solid. And I think Mitchell Robinson might be my favorite play. A little too cheap here. The minutes are the only thing in question. He could go out there, as you can see, and only play 23, 26. He can still get you there in that amount of time, but if we're going to get close to 30, do like Mitchell Robinson at 5,000 against Charlotte. Solid matchup going against Plumlee. He really shouldn't get in foul trouble. He's usually a pretty foul-prone guy, so I think he'd be my favorite play. Grimes is coming off of just unrealistic, or not unrealistic, but uncharacteristic 8 of 11, 23, 4, 2, and 2. He was kind of like the second leading scorer behind Randall. So don't think you need to follow that, but he's an okay value play. Still prefer getting to quickly. The minutes are a little bit safer on quickly. He's a little bit more aggressive off the bench, so he looks pretty solid there at 4,100. He's a guy who could easily nuke the slate, so keep that in mind. And then Hartenstein playing the backup 5. Don't think you need to go there. Reddish almost falling out of the rotation, so yeah. That is the Knicks. For Charlotte, Terry, 8K. It's pretty much the same thing for Terry every slate. Minutes there, shot attempts are there. Just comes down to if he hits his shots. And, he's usually pretty solid at peripherals. That last game, he only got 5 and 2. Before that, he was getting like 10 plus every game. 8K for Terry. Very solid play there. Same thing with Oubre. Oubre's been decent alongside Terry the past 2 games, as you can see. 41, 46 fantasy points. Price hasn't moved. Do like him. I like PJ. I ran Terry and PJ the last slates. Got a little bit screwed on PJ because he got hurt. I think he hurt his eye and didn't return the last 6 minutes of the game, so he lost out. He's actually doing pretty solid. He lost out on probably at least 5 plus more fantasy points, if not, closer to 40. But yeah, 5,800. Never fun rostering PJ, but he's had 2 solid back-to-back games after going 0-13. So in this matchup, I do like him a little bit there. Obviously, there is foul trouble guarding Julius Randle. Plumlee just a little too pricey for me, even though he does have a decent ceiling, closer to 40. McDaniels just kind of there. He did a solid that last game versus Brooklyn. I mean, I guess 5,100. Don't hate it, but as you can see, he can go on stretches where he just doesn't do really anything at all. So 5,100, yeah, he has a little bit of upside, but you really just need those other guys to kind of be doing bad. Obviously, PJ Washington missed, so McDaniels got a little bit more usage thrown his way. So I don't think we can always count on that, but he's there. Theo and Richards are kind of the only two guys coming off the bench right now for the Hornets. For Toronto, we have Pascal 10K. He looks like a fantastic spin-up option here going against Orlando. We saw what happened in the last game. They kind of blew him out, but he played 31 minutes, almost got a triple-double, 26, 8, and 10 for 58.5 fantasy points. So, I mean, he's been very, very solid the past 4 games now, 41, 58, 49, 53. So I think he's firmly in play now here for just a very solid spin-up play at 10,000, and just you hope the game stays close. The other plays, still prefer getting to Van Fleet out of those 3 other secondary guys. I finally had a good game that last game. Still shot the ball poorly, but he scored a good amount. So, yeah, at 7,000, I think he'd be my favorite besides Pascal. Boucher and Trent are there. They'll see the minutes. At least Gary Trent will. He's scoring dependent. Boucher got a little bit more run in that Lakers game because of the blowout. He's a guy who can nuke the slate, but he's still slightly a little bit too pricey for me. And that's really it for the Toronto side. They do play their guys a ton, even in some blowouts. Paulo, I think he's a little bit too cheap here at this price point, but there is some blowout risk. Bol coming off a very solid game, 34 minutes. That's just the problem with Bol recently has been the minutes. And so obviously if he's going to get 30 plus minutes, 6,100, he looks solid even in this hard matchup because we know Bol has huge upside. So I think he'd be my favorite play. Just kind of take a chance on, his minutes being normal. Franz is just kind of there for me. Same thing with Mo. Just prefer getting to the 2 other guys at the top I mentioned. I mean, you can get to these guys like Cole Anthony should see at least 25 minutes. If we get closer to 30, that'd be huge. So 5,000, I think he'd be my favorite shot besides the 2 guys I mentioned at the top. It'd be him and Fultz. Fultz is coming off a game, 28 minutes, 0-4, did absolutely nothing, 8 fantasy points. Before that, we do know he has a ceiling into the mid-30s. He was solid the games he played last year. He's had, 20, 24, 33 game this year. He's, getting the rust off him. So 4,800, I do think he's a good value play there. And, I mean, you can go down to Terrence Ross in tournament setting, but I don't think it's a necessity. Moving on to Washington, Indiana. Kristaps, questionable. Obviously, this is huge news. If he's good to go, I mean, he's been on a huge hot streak recently. 68, 58, 42, 49, 50. So once again here versus Indiana. Great matchup. If you want to ride the hot streak with Porzingis, don't mind that as a pretty solid pay-up option. Beal's still out, so Porzingis is going to be the main focus of the offense. Kyle Kuzma will kind of be that 1B option, so you can go down to him if you want to get off of a more expensive Porzingis. Don't mind it. Morris picked up some slack in shooting, as I kind of mentioned, 5K versus the Bulls, and that's kind of what he did, 33 fantasy points, so you can go to him at that price. Don't mind it. Denny was actually very solid, 39, becomes more of a playmaker when Beal's out. He looks decent at 4,800. I prefer getting to him over a guy like McDaniels on the Hornets. Kinsbury will see the minutes, but he's just, a sharpshooter. You need him to hit his shots. Otherwise, he's not going to really do much there at his price tag. Goodwin, Gafford, they'll see 15-ish minutes off the bench. Gafford's a solid point per minute guy, but you don't really feel great about any of these guys. Barton's been questionable. He's just been trash anyways. So it's just really kind of, Goodwin and Gafford if you're very, very, very risky. Otherwise, I just stick to the guys mentioned. On Indiana, I love me some Haliburton. Once again, this price tag is just way too cheap. I don't know why they're not moving his price tag at all, but yeah, 92 for Haliburton. We know his floor is like a 40. Like even in terrible, terrible games, he's pretty much gotten like 40 every single game. And then obviously he has this huge upside if he's just hitting the shots. And like he was 9-14 and 5-3. Or 5-9 from 3, and that was great. Like it was finally one of his first like good solid shooting games he's had. So really like Haliburton here. There at 9,200. I'm gonna throw him in there for now. I think Miles Turner's too cheap here at 6,900. Coming off a solid game there, 23, 7, and 4. He looks very solid. If he gets at least 30 minutes, they're gonna need him guarding Porzingis. So I don't mind running both big men against each other. They are a little bit foul prone. Buddy Hield once again too cheap. Even alongside Haliburton, he was able to get 26, 3, and 1. Obviously a little bit score independent, but yeah, he's a little bit too cheap there. Rest of the team, just they're kind of secondary plays. A guy like Smith and Mathurin, you can get to them. But that's really it for me on this team. Brissett maybe sees 15 minutes at most, but yeah, it's just pretty much got to wait on that Miles Turner news. But if he's in, it's pretty much the guys at the top, and that's it for Sacramento. Sabonis 9,300, coming off a very solid game against the Bucks. He just still doesn't shoot a ton. Like, he can still get you like mid-20s scoring, but he just needs to be more aggressive offensively. But yeah, he looks solid there against Cleveland. Obviously not the best matchup, but we know there's upside for Sabonis. Fox 8K questionable. Obviously that's huge news. He's been just terrible the past like 2 weeks. Really fell off. So at 8K, he does have some upside, but he's been very, very bad. Obviously, if he's out, Malik Monk would probably slide into the starting lineup. Maybe they get weird, slide Dellavedova in there. We'll have to see if Terrence Davis is back. If he is, maybe they'll slide him in alongside. Who really knows? But yeah, I think everyone looks pretty solid here on the Sacramento side. Their price tags are a little bit too cheap. Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray. Barnes, you can go there if you want to be contrarian, but I'd rather pay down for a guy like Keegan Murray. 4K for him, it's a pretty solid price tag. If he's going to see at least 25-ish minutes, he does have some upside into the mid-30s if he's shooting well. So yeah, I think he looks very solid there as a value play in the 4K range. But yeah, we'll have to wait on that Terrence Davis Fox news. That's kind of big. Cleveland side, I think Mitchell and Garland are a little bit too cheap. Mitchell's coming off that huge game. Garland coming off a double-double game. So yeah, I think they're both too cheap here in a great game environment. Mobley, don't think it to do it with Allen back. He's a little bit too pricey. Allen coming off a very, very solid start to the game against the Lakers. 47 fantasy points. He looks decent there. With Kevin Love out, it would just give a little bit more minutes to guys like LeVert, Osman, Stevens. Maybe they'll throw, D. Keedy in there. Maybe a little Isaac Okoro. But yeah, nothing too huge with that Love news. They just kind of ran Jared Allen like 40 minutes. So maybe that's a little bit more of a bump for Allen. For Atlanta, another great game environment here. Trae Young, 10-3, coming off a very, very disappointing game where a lot of people played him for prize picks and DFS once again, and he failed. They got blown out by the mid of the third quarter. So yeah, I don't mind going back to him here at 10-3 in this great matchup. He's due for a huge game. I know people hate that term, but he's just been terrible this year. Not the Trae Young that we're used to, so I don't mind firing him up here against Brooklyn to kind of get things back on track. Capella, I think he's a little bit too cheap here. He does have some upside. A little disappointed in the past few, but you can get to him. AJ Griffin, I think he's my favorite play, 4,800. It's just, he's getting a ton of shots, 11 of 16, 4 of 15. 3 of 13. And I know DeAndre Hunter might be back. Even if he is, I still think they're going to start AJ Griffin. Shouldn't eat in his minutes. He should still see around 30 in those shot attempts. He's still going to chuck it. So really like him there for me. Moving on to, let's get Halliburton back in here. Moving on to Hunter, 4,600. You can definitely go to him. He'll look to shoot some more now that a guy like DeJounte Murray's out. So he looks like a decent value play there as well at 4,600. Bogdan, solid. The minutes did come up a little bit, 25. They said they were going to keep him around 22-ish. The game did blow out, so maybe they gave him a few extra just to get a little bit back into it. Obviously did not shoot the ball well. I still think he's a little too risky there, playing 22 to 25 minutes. Now, if there's no minutes limit, he looks like one of the best plays of the day there at 4,100. But keep an eye on that. Jalen Johnson, he'd be probably the one to see the biggest decrease in the minutes. Obviously, he only played 14 because the game blew out, and he was in foul trouble the whole first half. So not much run for him. He probably saw closer to 25, but he'll probably lose a few with DeAndre Hunter coming back. But he should see probably the start. Maybe we'll see it what they throw out there for the starting lineup. Okongwu, 3,800. Just kind of there. And then, yeah, I just really think you need to, Aaron Holiday should factor in more as like the secondary ball handler, backup ball handler. So yeah, so 3-3 for Aaron Holiday looks pretty decent. For the Brooklyn side, KD looks great at 10-5. Kyrie coming off his best game since being suspended. 4 blocks obviously really help, but yeah, he's pretty decent at getting blocks. Almost won a game. So yeah, Kyrie minutes are there. Game kind of blew out as well. They did come back closer towards the end. But yeah, usually going to see 40 minutes. I like Kyrie here. Good amount at 8,600. Very, very solid matchup for him. Ben Simmons is back. it was just interesting to see if he's on a minutes limit. If not, love him here at this price tag. If he is, don't think you need to do it. Rather get to the top 2 guys. Claxton's there. He's kind of like a Clint Capella play, but I like Capella a little bit more. Royce O'Neal has some upside. Hasn't showed it the past few. Just kind of there for me. You know, Joe Harris, he's been decent recently. Don't think you need to force it. TJ Warren just kind of there. And Seth coming off a huge game. I don't think you need to chase it. But yeah, he's 3,600. Minutes have trended down since TJ Warren's been back. So if you want to look there, you can. But yeah, I think this is another solid game environment. Move on to the Lakers in Philadelphia. Should be a great game to watch. You know, star-studded matchup. Anthony Davis and LeBron should be back. We'll see. Let's just assume they're in for now, and then come back to it in the free Patreon right up below if everything changes or anything changes. So for the price tags, prefer getting to LeBron. You know, Anthony Davis was on that huge streak. Maybe, you know, the flu game here when he only played 8 minutes, maybe that put it into it. We'll have to see. Obviously, a tough matchup going against Embiid, so that's why I prefer LeBron there at 10-4. Russ will be just a decent contrarian play off the bench. The rest of the team, you can get to a guy like, I'd say, Lonnie or Schroeder, but that's really it. I don't think they're a necessity. It's really just the top 2 guys for me, and maybe if you want to get a little bit different, Russ. But obviously, if one of them's out or Anthony Davis is still out and LeBron's in, you could definitely look to a guy like Thomas Bryant. Wouldn't look great for him guarding Embiid, and then get to, you know, 1 or 2 of these other value guys. But let's just assume both of them are in for right now. On the other side, Embiid looks solid here, 11-5 in a matchup versus Anthony Davis. Don't mind him there, not a priority. Harden, I think he is a priority for me. You know, the minutes, I thought they were going to limit him. I swear they came out and said that they were going to limit him in minutes. Still played 38. 4 of 19, did not shoot well. Still almost got 40 fantasy points. He's been very, very good this year. So I do really like James Harden as another play tonight. Harris, Melton, they're all just kind of there with Harden back. Don't think there's a need to get to any of those other guys. They're just more secondary plays. And that's really it for the 76ers. Last few games, we got Detroit and Memphis. Cade Cunningham still out. Killian Hayes moved up to 6.7K, coming off a huge game against the Pelicans. A little bit of an outlier. I mean, he does have some of that upside, but 6.7K does not feel right paying that for Killian Hayes. If you want to, hey, you can, but I'd rather pay for a guy like Bojan, whose price has come down from 6,600 to 6,100. Now in this game, he got thrown out, so yeah, I don't think he was able to even play in the second half. I think he got thrown out either in the second quarter or like right at the beginning of the third quarter. So yeah, I do like me some Bojan. He has been shooting the ball well. He's been starting off cold the past 2 games, but he was able to turn it on for 30 or I think 27 points in the second half of the Miami game. Obviously, he got kicked out in that last game, so I think my favorite play, him or Ivy. Ivy just really has been bad recently. Minutes are kind of fluctuating, so just kind of there. And then, yeah, the rest of the team, if you want to go to Stewart, prefer him over Bagley, but Detroit's just been so bad recently. Even in games where they don't have a lot of guys, they're still bringing random people off the bench. I guess Sadiq Bey's been the most consistent there at 5,000, so if you want to go to him, you can. Burks, I just wish he got more minutes because he'd be a great play there. Otherwise, he's just very, very risky at 4,800. Yeah, just not a lot I like on this Detroit side. They're all just way too cheap, but they just don't play good at all to even pay off their cheap price tags. Memphis side, Ja, he was huge for me last game, 66 fantasy points. I mean, I'm just scared of a blowout in this game. I mean, otherwise 10-6 for Ja. Don't mind paying up for him because there's a good amount of value for today. Jaren Jackson Jr., 7,100. Don't mind paying up for him. We know he has upside. If the game's not a blowout, you know, he should see closer to 30 minutes. Hoping he's going to start finally getting 30 minutes or more soon. Waiting for that. But yeah, he's a little bit foul prone, but 7,100, don't mind him. Brooks, don't think you need to do it with the 2 guys there. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but he'd be very, very contrarian. Adams is there. Obviously, if he's out, you can go to a guy like Brandon Clark. Santi coming off the bench, 20-ish minutes. He's decently productive. That OKC game obviously was a blowout, so it kind of bumped up the floors of these other guys, but don't really think there's a need to play any of these guys. I mean, Zaire, Salt, 19-ish minutes. It's really just Ja or Jay for me. For Phoenix and the Pelicans, Phoenix have been getting blown out the past few games, so Booker's is more of a contrarian spend up with Paul being back. Paul did only see 24 minutes. He'll still probably be limited, but really eats into Booker's usage upside when it comes to like assist and just running the whole offense. So there's not a lot of interest. I mean, Ayton, he'd probably be my favorite play. He was doing very well, but it's just tough having all three of them back. We'll have to see how the offense kind of goes with all of them back. Because Chris Paul, even though he does get Ayton involved sometimes, it just messes up the flow. The rest of the guys are just there. I mean, Okogie had a huge game for them in 23 minutes, but it's just been the past 3 games for him have just been all because of blowout run. I mean, Damian Lee should see the most run in a close game. But yeah, I mean, you can take a dart throw on Josh if you want to. It just doesn't feel great. Moving on to the Pelicans. Zion, pricey. You can get to him. I don't think it's a need. I'd rather get to CJ, whose price is now $6,800. I think it's the cheapest it's been all year. And he's been brutal. Brutal, guys. Look at this. 18, 15. Then he gets hurt. 5, 7, 8 on his games back. 2 of 11, 3 of 11, 3 of 11. So it's looking like he's going to go back out there and shoot 3 of 11. But at this price tag for a guy who has easily 45, 50 plus upside, and not the best matchup, but I do literally like, buying low end guys. CJ McCollum's one of those guys. The rest of the team, Trey Murphy's just there. J Val, he does have some upside. He's just not playing enough minutes. You can go there at 6K. I don't hate it if you want to get a little bit risky there. McDaniels or Dyson Daniels started. Nance is always an option if you think, the Valanciunas is going to get limited. But yeah, not a lot of interest in anyone besides CJ. On Minnesota, Anthony Edwards is going to be the guy that leads the team. Got 6 steals last game, 6 steals before, and 5 steals. So if you think he's going to average multiple steals a game, I think he looks great at 9K, but prefer getting to maybe a D-low there. But I mean, Anthony Edwards is solid spin up at 9K. Rudy coming off a huge game there, 16 and 21, 2 blocks, and his 3 steals. Don't mind him here. I mean, I just don't like playing Rudy, but I mean, he looks decent. Same thing with D'Lo. He's going to be running the team. Noel off the bench looks solid as a 4,700 value play there. McDaniels will get some run as well. Kyle Anderson, coming off a bad game there. Don't mind running it back with him at 4,600. Nas only saw about 12 minutes. So yeah, not a ton of interest. Utah side, Lauri's questionable. Obviously, if he's out, it changes a lot of things. Let's assume he's back. Hopefully, 8,300. It looks decent for him. Clarkson, 7,300 looks decent. Kelly, looks okay as a contrarian play. I mean, they should be playing a ton of minutes with those guys still, but we'll have to see. Sexton is going to be out. Mike Conley is most likely back, but I'm assuming on minutes limit. So we know Lauri, Clarkson, and Olynyk going to see a ton of minutes. For the guard situation, Malik Beasley, I think he started, played 34 minutes, shot 50%, only got 24 fantasy points, but I do like running it back with him here in this game environment. Vanderbilt kind of there. Walker Kessler was the one who had the huge game. He started, saw 24 minutes, put up 37.5 fantasy points. He's a beast at getting blocks. Easy double-double machine. So yeah, if he's going to start again, that price tag for him is great. And I know this guy played a ton. Don't think you need to chase that, but yeah, we'll have to see with the starting lineup there. And then last game, Milwaukee and Dallas. We got Giannis at the top. Looks great if you can afford him. A little bit of a slower matchup. We'll see if Giannis is able to make them run, but it should be a piece of cake for him going against these Dallas guys. They will double team like they did Jokic, so maybe that slows down Giannis. We'll have to see. Drew Holiday's been the most consistent so far, as you can see. 4 straight games of 45 or more fantasy points. Price for that hasn't moved. Another solid matchup, so I do like him a good amount. Middleton's dropped all the way down to 6,500. He's still not playing 30 minutes. We'll have to see if they bump it. If they do, love him. If not, I think he's still a little bit too risky there, even at that price tag, to go to him. Brook Lopez has some upside, so if you want to go there, don't hate it. And yeah, I mean, Bobby, I think he's now at that price where it's 6,300. I don't mind getting into him. He does have some double-double upside. Only going to see around 28-ish minutes, but yeah, I do like some Bobby. And then Pat Connaughton, probably your best value play there. Should see about 24-ish minutes. On Dallas, Luka, 13K. Not sure if you can get him in your lineup. If you want to be contrarian, do it, and fit him in, you can, but not the best matchup here for Luka. Christian Wood, just kind of there. Not a lot of interest in this Dallas side. Dinwiddie coming off of just an average game, 28 fantasy points. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. has probably been the best player for them the past 5 games. So if you want to ride that hot streak with him, you can. He's very, very score independent. 5,100 price tag is not the best now. I could see this being a spot where he kind of fails, but If you want to ride the hot streak, don't mind it. The rest of the team, it's just not a lot I like. Finney Smith had his best game of the season. Maybe Kemba gets thrown in rotation for a few minutes. We'll have to see. Kleber, he's gonna play about 25, so he's okay value. Josh Green should see about 15, so not a lot of interest on this Dallas side. And then we'll throw in one more player for this just early look lineup. Once again, follow me on Twitter at HardDFS and follow my Patreon down below. Once again, 100% free. You can view it, and I'll have my updates for tomorrow night's slate. I'll also be uploading this. Actually, I'll upload it tonight. And yeah, let's see. Let's throw in one more guy. Who do I want to throw in there? Let's go someone more in the mid-range. Actually, let's just, for right now, we're going to go to one of these Orlando guards. Fultz or Anthony. I think it's going to be Fultz. A little bit better of a matchup for him there, but yeah. That's going to be the slate breakdown. So if you guys like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, turn that notification bell. Thank you guys once again for 1,000 subscribers. Can't wait for 2,000. Let's get that tomorrow. But yeah, see you guys in the next video. Peace.